The service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, Algeria and Italy have signed several cooperation agreements as part of the official visit to Italy by President Abdelmajid Tebboune, where he was received by his Italian counterpart Giorgio Mattarella and the President of the Italian Council of Ministers, Giorgia Meloni. At the Security Council, Algeria has stressed that the peaceful settlement of conflicts is the milestone of the country's foreign policy. And UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has denounced the horror in the Gaza Strip, where death and destruction have reached an unprecedented level in recent history. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. In today's top stories, Algeria and Italy have signed several cooperation agreements as part of the official visit to Italy by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune. Mr. Tebboune held today a one-on-one meeting in Rome with his Italian counterpart, Sergio Mattarella, as part of his official visit to this friendly country. The talks between the President of the Republic and his Italian counterpart were extended to include members of the two countries' delegations. Earlier, President Mattarella officially welcomed the President of the Republic at the Quirinal Palace in accordance with Italian protocol and tradition. After listening to the national anthems of both countries, the two presidents reviewed a detachment of the Italian Republican Guard, which paid them honors. The President of the Republic arrived in Rome on Tuesday evening at the head of a large delegation for an official visit to the Italian Republic, during which he will chair on the Algerian side the proceedings of the fifth session of the Algerian-Italian High-Level Intergovernmental Summit. President Tebboune was received also in Rome by the President of the Italian Council of Ministers, Ms. Giorgia Meloni, as part of the official visit to this friendly country. The welcoming ceremony took place at La Villa Doria, Pompeii, where the President of the Republic and the President of the Italian Council of Ministers listened to the national anthems of both countries before reviewing a detachment of the Italian Republican National Guard, which paid them honors. The Algerian-Italian Business Forum kicked off started this morning in the Italian capital, Rome, as part of the official visit. This forum is co-chaired by the Minister of State of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of the Italian Republic, Antonio Tajani. Mr. Attaf met in Rome with the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Antonio Tajani. The talks took place on the sidelines of the Algerian-Italian Business Forum, co-chaired by Mr. Attaf and Mr. Tajani, as part of the official visit of the President, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, to Italy. Here in Algiers, the Director General of the National Security Services, Ali Badawi, has presided over the ceremony celebrating the 63rd anniversary of the creation of the Algerian police at the headquarters of the Republican Security Units in El Hamiz, here in Algiers, under the theme Pride of Belonging, Professionalism in Action, Loyalty to the Oath of the Martyrs. In his speech, Mr. Badawi called the anniversary a symbol of Algeria's state building achieved through great sacrifice and reaffirmed the Security Directorate's commitment to cooperating with the army to ensure national stability.
يحدو المديرية العامة للأمن الوطني على الدوام إيمانا راسخا بالمبادئ.
The General Directorate of National Security is constantly guided by a firm belief in the principles based on strengthening coordination and cooperation with all of the country's security institutions, foremost among them the People's National Army, an indispensable approach and the surest path to anticipating risk and envisioning the future in all its dimensions in order to safeguard the nation and protect citizens and property from all potential threats and dangers, and to confront them firmly, thereby opening promising horizons of stability and progress for our beloved country.
That was the Director General of the National Security Services, Ali Badawi. Now, the Minister of Communication, Mr. Mohamed Mziane, has emphasized in Algiers the special interest shown by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, in the Arab language within the framework of a profound political vision. He affirmed that Arabic is central to Algeria's sovereignty and identity, with the state committed to its promotion while respecting cultural diversity. Speaking about Arab media, Mr. Mziane called for moving beyond passive reporting toward creative, influential and future-oriented engagement.
ومن واجبنا ألا يبقى الإعلام العربي محصورا.
It is our duty not to let Arab media remain confined to merely conveying information with detachment, an issue that must be pointed out since it must break free from subordination and circumstantial approaches, expand the scope of creativity and innovation, and move towards building a comprehensive strategy that achieves the desired qualitative takeoff in all fields. It must shift from mere transition to formation, positive interaction and influence, keeping pace with the rapid development taking place at all levels.
المستويات.
That was the Minister of Communication, Mr. Mohamed Mziane. Now to Mr. Sharfi here with me in the studio for more news in today's bulletin.
Thank you, Jamal. The Security Council has adopted a resolution urging all member states to utilize effectively the mechanisms for pacific settlement of disputes as outlined in the United Nations Charter, including negotiations, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlement, and other peaceful means of their choice. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres stressed that peace is a choice, and the world expects the UN Security Council to help countries make this choice, adding that competition between states is a geopolitical reality, but cooperation is a sustainable pathway to peace.
These Council's members, in particular its permanent members, must continue working to overcome division. The majority of situations on the Security Council agenda are complex and resist quick fixes. But even in the darkest days of the Cold War, the collective dialogue and decision-making in this Council underpinned a common and effective system of global security, one that successfully developed a range of peacekeeping missions, one that opened the door for vital humanitarian aid to flow to people in need, and one that helped prevent a third world war. I urge you to summon this same spirit by keeping channels open, continue to listen in good faith and working to overcome differences and building consensus. We must also work to ensure that this Council reflects the world of today, not the world of 80 years ago. This Council should be made more representative of today's geopolitical realities.
Algeria voted in favor of this resolution. Algeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ammar Benjama, has stated in New York that the peaceful settlement of these conflicts is the cornerstone of Algeria's foreign policy, underlining that respect for international law by all parties and the peaceful settlement for conflicts remains the only means of achieving international security and peace. In his address to the Security Council, Ammar Benjama reaffirmed Algeria's firm belief that upholding international law and resolving conflicts peacefully are the only lasting paths to global peace and security, especially amid ongoing crises, regional tensions, and rising unilateralism.
As crises persist and unilateral approaches proliferate, Algeria reiterates its firm belief that respect by all for international law and peaceful dispute settlement are the only sustainable path to international peace and security.
Mr. Benjama stressed that peaceful conflict resolution is key to Algeria's foreign policy, urging use of UN Charter tools and support for the UN 80+ initiative. He also reaffirmed Algeria's regional efforts in coordination with bodies like the African Union. The Algerian diplomat expressed concern over the Security Council's inaction and double standards, citing Palestine as a clear example, and called for better coordination with the UN Peacebuilding Commission.
We remain gravely concerned by the paralysis of the Security Council and also the selective implementation of its resolution, which undermines its legitimacy and its credibility. The question of Palestine is a clear and a long-standing example of this double standard.
Mr. Benjama concluded by calling for inclusive and balanced multilateralism that prioritizes peaceful conflict resolution in line with the UN Charter. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has denounced the horror in the Gaza Strip, ravaged by a genocidal war waged by the Israeli occupation army, where death and destruction have reached an unprecedented level in recent history. Speaking at the Security Council meeting that was convened by Pakistan, Mr. Guterres said that malnutrition is skyrocketing and famine is knocking on every door.
We need look no further than the horror show in Gaza, with a level of death and destruction without parallel in recent times. Malnourishment is soaring, starvation is knocking on every door. And now we are seeing the last gasp of a humanitarian system built on humanitarian principle. This system is being denied the conditions to function, denied the space to deliver, denied the safety to save lives. With Israeli military operations intensifying and new displacement orders issued in Deir al-Balah, devastation is being layered upon devastation. I am appalled that UN premises have been struck, among them facilities of the UN Office for Project Services and the World Health Organization, including WHO's main warehouse. This is despite all parties having been informed of the locations of these UN facilities. These premises are inviolable and must be protected under international humanitarian law without exception.
The Director of Communications for the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, Juliette Toma, has said, quoting the Commissioner General, that the United Nations employees in Gaza are fainting from hunger and exhaustion, fearing for the survival of the inhabitants of the Palestinian enclave, devastated by a genocidal assault carried out by the Zionist occupation forces since October 2023, in addition to a blockade and famine.
Gaza has become hell on earth and no place is safe. In his statement, the Commissioner General said that no one is spared. Caretakers, including UNRWA colleagues in Gaza, are also in need of care now. Doctors, nurses, journalists, humanitarians, among them UNRWA staff, are hungry. Many are now fainting due to hunger and exhaustion while performing their duties, reporting atrocities or alleviating some of the suffering. Meanwhile, seeking food has become as deadly as the bombardments. More than 1,000 starving people have been reported killed since the end of May. The so-called DHF distribution schemes is a sadistic death trap. Snipers open fire randomly on crowds as if they're given a license to kill. It's a massive hunt of people in total impunity.
That was Juliette Toma, UNRWA Director of Communications. More than 100 humanitarian organizations have warned that mass starvation is spreading in the Gaza Strip, which has been subjected to a genocidal aggression by the Zionist occupation since October 7, 2023, resulting in nearly 60,000 martyrs and more than 142 wounded. As mass starvation spreads in the Gaza Strip, our colleagues and the people we help are wasting away, said the NGOs including Médecins Sans Frontières, several branches of Médecins du Monde and Caritas, Amnesty International and Oxfam International in a statement. More details with Saïd Boughazi.
The NGOs are calling for an immediate ceasefire, the opening of all land crossings and the free movement of humanitarian aid. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights has accused the Zionist army of killing more than 1,000 people in Gaza since the end of May who were seeking humanitarian aid. Just outside Gaza, in warehouses and even inside, tons of food, drinking water, medical supplies, shelter materials and fuel remain unused as humanitarian organizations are prevented from accessing or delivering them, said the humanitarian organizations. A hospital in Gaza said that 21 children had died of malnutrition or starvation in 72 hours. The World Food Programme said that a third of Gaza's population had not eaten for several days in a row due to the blockade imposed by the Zionist entity on the Palestinian enclave. The UN agency also noted that a quarter of Gaza's inhabitants are facing conditions close to famine, while 100,000 women and children are suffering from acute malnutrition. Since March 2nd, the Zionist entity has closed all crossing points into Gaza, preventing the delivery of food, medicine, and humanitarian aid. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, has warned that malnutrition among children under the age of 5 has doubled between March and June due to the blockade imposed by the occupying forces.
The World Health Organization, WHO, has strongly condemned attacks by the Zionist military on its staff residence in Gaza, which occurred amidst intensified hostilities and evacuation orders.
WHO condemns in the strongest terms the attacks on a building housing WHO staff in Deir al-Balah in Gaza, the mistreatment of those sheltering there, and the destruction of its main warehouse. Following intensified hostilities in Deir al-Balah after the latest evacuation order issued by Israeli military, the WHO staff residence was attacked 3 times yesterday. Staff and their families, including children, were exposed to grave danger and traumatized after airstrikes caused a fire and significant damage. Israeli military entered the premises, forcing women and children to evacuate on foot toward Al-Mawasi amid active conflict. Male staff and family members were handcuffed, stripped, interrogated on the spot, and screened at gunpoint. 2 WHO staff and 2 family members were detained.
The incident resulted in significant damage to the WHO premises and traumatized those sheltering there, including women and children. Back to you, Jamal.
Still with the situation in the Gaza Strip, King Philip of Belgium has denounced the starvation policy pursued by the Zionist occupation in the Gaza Strip, underlining that the current humanitarian situation in the Palestinian enclave is a shame for all of humanity. He said, "I join my voice to all those who denounce the serious humanitarian abuses in Gaza, where innocent people are dying of hunger and falling under bombs, suffocated in their enclave." He called on Europe to assert its leadership more strongly and establish itself as a bulwark and a reliable alternative to the brutal power struggle. He said, "We are witnessing today, recalling that the values of democracy, justice and law must never be abandoned at this time." Now to the Western Sahara file. Spanish organizations defending the rights of consumers, farmers and livestock breeders have filed a joint complaint against a Franco-Moroccan company that they accuse of marketing tomatoes with the European Union with misleading labeling indicating that they originate from Morocco when in fact they are harvested in occupied Western Sahara. The United Nations World Food Programme has announced that it may be forced to reduce its food aid to South Sudan in September if funding is not found immediately. According to the World Food Programme statement, the severe lack of funding will only allow it to provide emergency humanitarian aid to some 2.5 million people across the country, or only 30% of the population at risk of severe famine. The announcement follows last week's announcement that it urgently needed $274 million to maintain its support for the 2.5 million people mostly severely exposed to food insecurity between now and the end of this year. As the world commemorates the World Day, or this week the World Day for International Justice, Radio Algeria International presented a special program highlighting the suffering of the Palestinian people, especially in Gaza, and the urgent need for global accountability. In the face of silence and inaction, Algeria reaffirmed its support for the oppressed and called for justice that is fair, universal, and no longer delayed. Justice must prevail for peace to begin. A program is by Masoud Sharfi.